Hey everybody, Peach here, and today we're reviewing the Keppi Fitness Bench 6000. And unlike the Keppi Bench 5000, the 6000 was designed with powerlifting in mind. In that, it has grippy upholstery and it sits at 17 inches tall, so it is aligned with the International Powerlifting Federation specification. And just like the Bench 5000, the Bench 6000 is also an FID bench, meaning it can be used in the flat position, the incline position, and the decline position. And it can be stored vertically, and yes, it does have a piece of durable UHMW plastic on the end here to protect the upholstery. But unlike the Bench 5000, the 6000 does have some higher end finishes like laser cut end caps on the square tubing, permanently affixed grip pads on the bottom, a front knurled handle, bigger, wider wheels, and a higher end, more adjustable foot attachment. Now to insert this foot roller attachment, just take this end here and insert it right here in this port in the back by pulling this pop pin and sliding it in. And then tighten it down. Now on this pop pin, you have 4 adjustment settings to adjust the length. On this pop pin, you have 8 adjustment settings to adjust the height. Over on this knob here, you have 5 settings to adjust the angle. And here, you have 5 settings to adjust the position of these foot roller attachments. So this front seat pad has 8 adjustment positions ranging from 30 degrees all the way down to negative 37.5 degrees. Okay? Now, the back pad position has 11 adjustment positions ranging from 85 degrees all the way down to 0 degrees. Now the feature that sets this bench apart from the others primarily are the included elbow pads, which you store right here, okay? Slide these out, and this is what they look like, okay? So it's that same grippy material that's on the back pad and front seat pad, and then there's these little nubs right there. So you take these little nubs and you put them right here underneath. So there's keyholes underneath this pad. You just pop these in, and now, let me do the other side. Okay, now, these pads, you can use them to place your elbows against these pads and really isolate your biceps. Also, it turns a regular width bench into a wide bench. So now you don't have to go buy a wide pad or a narrow pad and just make a choice. You have the flexibility to turn your regular pad into a wide pad. Now the design for this bench was obviously influenced by such products as the Prime Fitness Adjustable Bench or the Prime Fitness Adjustable Shorty Bench, which both have the ability to add elbow pads and the decline foot holder. Now if you look at the price of that, you're looking at well over 1,000 bucks before shipping. Whereas with this, which is not gonna be as nice as those Prime Fitness products, but obviously there's a huge savings because with this, you're only looking at $369, including shipping, and that's before my promo code. After my promo code, you're looking at only $346. So this is a huge savings. Now assembly was incredibly easy. It only took me about 25 minutes, and most of that was just putting the leg attachment together since there's so many parts. Now this might be my new favorite bench that I own. The other contender is the bench I've owned for about 4 years, the AB4100 from Rep Fitness. Now they're different benches, but this has features that this just doesn't have. And if you'd like to see a comparison of this bench versus the Rep Nighthawk versus the Prime Fitness Adjustable Bench or the Prime Fitness Shorty Bench, just go to designbuildlift.com and check out the table that compares all the specs of all these benches. Now, in the interest of time, I'm not going to cover every spec of the bench. Instead, go to that article over at designbuildlift.com and check out that table, which lists all the specs of this bench and the benches I just mentioned. But I will give you some of the specs right now. So the seat pad is 11.7 inches wide and 13.75 inches long. The back pad is also 11.7 inches wide and it is 34 inches long. And again, the pad sits at 17 inches off the ground, so it is in the International Powerlifting Federation specification. And it weighs 92 pounds. And it has an advertised weight capacity of 1,500 pounds. And I assume that that is measured only in the flat position, and in the incline position, it's gonna be less than 1,500. Now, the gauge of the steel is not listed on the website, unfortunately. Now, the Rep AB 4100 is advertised as 7 and 14 gauge steel. And by visually inspecting this side by side with the AB 4100, they appear to be the same thickness of steel. Now, as far as the density of the pad, it's exactly what you want. It's very dense, and if I put my fingers in here and just show you how quickly it snaps back, you can see that this is a very dense pad. And when we compare this to the Rep Fitness AB 4100, you can make your own inferences on just how dense this is. And here's a visual of the ATX flat bench, the Speediance adjustable bench, and the Keppi 5000. Now, as stated earlier, I recently reviewed the Keppi Bench 5000 right here, and in that video I said, for me, the line between budget bench and non-budget bench is $300. When the price goes above $300, my expectations significantly increase. Well, since you can get this bench for $346, this bench is over that $300 threshold, and is therefore, in my opinion, not a budget bench. Therefore, I do have higher expectations of it. And I must say, it does meet and beat most of my expectations, almost all of them. It is not perfect, and we're gonna go right now into the negatives, right now, starting with shipping. Now, I also said in that Bench 5000 review that my expectation is if a bench is $400 or more, I expect it to be delivered in pristine condition. Now, this is less than $400, but even for that price tag, I thought the shipping was substandard. In fact, this is the condition of the box when it arrived. A huge gaping hole. And you can't blame FedEx for this. This one is on Keppi. Anything this heavy really needs to have the ends of the box reinforced and protected. If you're going to leave a gaping void inside the box with no padding or reinforcement at the ends of the box, of course a hole can occur very easily. So when I opened it up, I could see right away that I had damage. And I was nervous something may have fallen out of the box and I don't even have all the parts. Luckily, all the parts were there, and luckily the damaged part is covered up by the seat pad. But due to the substandard packaging, I had damage here, 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 and here. All right, next critique. The rubber feet on the bottom of the bench are non-slip, and that's all well and good. My critique, though, is there's 2 screws per pad. And you can kind of get something caught on the pad, and over time, that could tear. So instead of having 2 screws, I wish they had 4 screws, 1 in each corner to prevent that from happening. Now, I still like this way more than the Bench 5000's rubber feet, which can easily slip off as you move the bench. All right, next critique. The wheels, I would love them to be made of rubber, however, they're made out of plastic. It's not a cheap plastic by any stretch of the imagination, but they are plastic, and my fear would be maybe one day you drop something on those and they could crack. I don't know. I'm not gonna deliberately attempt to do so to find out though, but they are wide and they do move very nicely. But, you know, of course, rubber wheels would just be a bit more premium, so I thought I should mention it. All right, next critique. So I have 3 issues actually with this foot attachment. Number 1, while these caps on the ends look really nice and shiny, they're plastic, okay? Now I wish that they would have been metal, just like with the Bench 5000 had metal caps on its foot pad. These are very shiny and nice looking, but since they're plastic, I fear that I could drop something on them at some point and they could crack. The next issue I have is the lining of this right here on the bottom, just for this part, is kind of warped, and as a result, I have friction. So it's not super easy to adjust this part. Everything else, these pop pins work just great. So does this one. Okay, now this in particular though has a lot of friction. So, and I'm not sure that it's definitely not supposed to be that way, but I'm not sure it was due to the condition of the shipping or what. But my third issue is all these knobs are kind of premium, except this one right here. The angle adjustment is this kind of cheap knob that you have to screw in and screw out all the way. You're not going to be adjusting it as much, but you can see the difference between this cheap knob here, right, and all of these knobs. So I'm not sure why you would go so premium on all these knobs and then go so cheap on one of the knobs. All right, next critique. So the powder coat on this is definitely not high end. My Rep Fitness AB4100 has a much better powder coat and looks a lot nicer despite it being 4 years old. This already has dings and scrapes from shipping, but even still, I expect there to be more dings and scrapes because the powder coat is not high end. Now, one thing they could do to alleviate that is these elbow pads here, they should have some kind of UHMW lining there, but it's just bare metal. So every time I add or remove this down here to store them or put them right here, I'm going to be scratching up the bench. Now, I don't see any new scratches from me using it, but just over time, metal on metal is going to wear away at this powder coat. All right, next critique. So the upholstery itself is excellent. I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. I love the level of grip it offers. However, on the back side of the bench and the elbow pads, they have this skirting to hide the seams. Nothing wrong with that, but the skirting that they're using is merely stapled on. Okay, and those staples are in some parts spread out as much as 4 or 5 inches. So as a result, something could get stuck between the skirting and the upholstery, and then it would rip the skirting or rip the staple out. So I wish this was a bit more refined. And at the very least, they could add probably double the amount of staples that they used. All right, the Keppi Bench 6000, a great addition to any home gym. Now, this might be my new favorite bench in my gym. I might go as far to say I like it a little bit better than the Rep AB4100 because unlike the AB4100, it does decline. It has that port with the included leg attachment and it has the included elbow pads. Now, for more details on the Keppi Bench 6000, be sure to go to designbuildlift.com. And to purchase this product or any of the products you saw in this video, please make those purchases by first clicking on the affiliate links located down the video description below. Shopping via those links costs you nothing extra and it helps support the channel. All right, that does it for this episode, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to be alerted the moment the next episode drops.